Coming up, how is downtown Indianapolis performing? Is it truly a talent and residential attractor? Leadership from Downtown Indy Inc. will be in studio to share data on the state of downtown 2018. Plus, a West Lafayette-based precision agriculture tech startup has been acquired by Minnesota-based DTN. The CEO of Spinsa Technologies is here with what the deal means for the company and the state of Indiana. And a sixth-generation farmer in Converse has found a new use for his crops. Instead of traditional row crop farming, he's growing canola and sunflowers to make healthy oil. Details on those stories and much more ahead on this edition of Inside Indiana Business.
Stand by for Top of Show with music full. By D1 Sound, sponsored open with music. Stand by camera 3 with Gary. We're out in 5, 4, 3, 2, dissolve, cue Gary.
Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gary Dick. Downtown Indy Inc. is sharing data from a brand new report, the 2018 State of Downtown, and it shows once again that downtown Indianapolis continues to be a place in high demand. For more on what continues to make Indianapolis a downtown success story and also some challenges that might lie ahead, I'm pleased to be joined by Downtown Inc. CEO Sherry Seiwert and the president of Progressive Urban Management Associates, Brad Siegel, who has helped Indianapolis and a number of other cities around the country as well. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Gary.
Sherry, we're going to start with you. An annual report. Anyone who's been downtown knows there's lots of activity, residential, business growth as well. Talk about the overall state of downtown.
Absolutely, Gary. You know, downtown is performing exceptionally well. I think that our downtown is more vibrant than it has been in the last 50 years. Office occupancy is up, higher than it has been in the last 10 years. The residential numbers continue to climb. We've got 28,000 residents living in our downtown footprint now. The single family and condo assessments are going up. The values are heading in the right way. So everything's going well downtown.
People wonder when the building will level off. Have you seen some leveling off on the residential
We
side?
are starting to see some leveling off. We still have 3,000 more units of multifamily housing in the pipeline, but we are starting to see that vacancy rate inch up just a little bit, around 6%. So still healthy, but it is inching up just a bit.
Brad, you have worked in a consulting basis with Indianapolis for a number of years, many other communities around the country, and you have some history here and have kind of seen the evolution of downtown Indianapolis.
Yeah, it's really inspiring actually to see what has happened in downtown Indianapolis. Great investment initially on the public sector, and then the private sector responded exceptionally well.
As you look at what makes Indianapolis tick, if you will, what's happening here that is making this place go?
Indianapolis is benefiting from different demographic and lifestyle trends that we're seeing in cities all over the country right now. So there are different generational preferences to be downtown, both younger people, millennials, and also older people like myself, boomers,
right,
want to be in urban environments, and it's a trend we see everywhere.
Talent attraction and retention, Sherry, obviously is a huge issue all over the state of Indiana. Creating that live, work, play environment, I know, is a big focus in downtown Indianapolis. Do you see that continuing to take place? I
do. You know, with the number of, again, residents moving into downtown, we're seeing it's not a 9 to 5 downtown any longer. It is a 7-day-a-week, 24-hour-a-day. So we're seeing folks on the street. We're hearing for folks asking for those neighborhood amenities, and certainly folks want to have a vibrant environment.
Yeah, in terms of challenges, I look through the report, a perception issue when it comes to crime, safety.
Yes. So we conduct a perception survey every year for the last 24 years, and this year we were a little concerned that we've seen a dip in the perception of safety and cleanliness in downtown. When asked the question from folks why that is, we were told because of the homeless and panhandling population.
As you look at another big issue, I know for your organization, others downtown, an economic investment district, an EID, that you need 50% signatures of homeowners and residential and business commercial property owners.
Correct.
Where are you at? You're facing a May 11 deadline.
May 11th deadline, so we just have approximately 3 more weeks. We're at 45%, so we need roughly 50 more petitions signed.
Okay, what will that district do?
So that district will, as we talked about, that concern for safety and cleanliness, that will be the core of the service delivery for the EID. But then, when we start to think about, inspiration related to, planning for the future for downtown, as well as marketing, trying to get businesses to locate here. So a variety of services are offered.
Brad, I want to get a question to you as we wrap up here on Amazon. Everybody's talking about Amazon, the HQ2 project, Indianapolis in the top or the final 20. Why would Amazon, in your view, be interested in Indianapolis?
So full disclosure, Gary, I'm from Denver, which is another one of the finalist cities. Yes, indeed, friendly competitor. Cities like Denver, a city like Indianapolis, we're on that list because of the talent attraction. Right now, economic development decisions like Amazon are completely driven by the availability of young, skilled talent. So Indianapolis has a high concentration of younger people, 20 to 35. You've got great educational institutions to keep that going. Importantly, as well, you have a very moderate cost of living, great quality of life. So I think from a national perspective, Indianapolis is perceived as a bit of a dark horse, but I wouldn't undercount your chances on this.
All right, very good. The State of Downtown 2018, a vibrant downtown continuing to grow. Sherry Seiwert, also Brad Siegel. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, still ahead, it's a healthy Hoosier-grown oil that has no additives, no chemical processes, and it's made from sunflowers and canola in Converse, Indiana. But first, West Lafayette-based Spensa Technologies named one of the top 25 innovative ag tech startups by Forbes last year. The company recently acquired by Minnesota-based DTN, and CEO Johnny Park is here to talk about the deal. It's time now to go inside innovation, brought to you by DMI. Well, Spensa Technologies, located in the Purdue Research Park, has been on a mission since it was founded in 2009 to help growers manage insects, weeds, and disease. Just a few weeks ago, Spensa was acquired by Minnesota-based DTN. Spensa CEO Johnny Park is here now to talk about how the deal will boost the company and perhaps Indiana's growing ag tech movement. And Johnny, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And congratulations on the deal. I want to get to that in a moment. But first of all, give us the thumbnail profile of Spensa and how the company got started.
Yeah. So before Spensa, I was a professor at Purdue University in computer engineering. My research spanned various topics in computer vision, robotics, and wireless networks. So I guess I've always had this notion of using smart sensors and intelligent systems to solve real-world problems. So back in 2008, my colleagues and I wrote a grant proposal to USDA, and it got funded fully. And through the project, I quickly realized that there's no other industry than agriculture that can benefit more from smart connected sensors and intelligent systems. And I just saw a tremendous opportunity to use such systems and technologies to make a positive impact around the world. So this company was founded in 2009 at the Research Park based on Purdue technology. All
right, let's talk about that. It's gotten a lot of accolades. In fact, Spensa was one of the top 25 innovative ag tech startups from Forbes magazine in 2017. DTN, Minnesota-based company, data analytics, global analysis company. Talk about the deal.
Yeah, so DTN is the independent, trusted source of actionable insights for more than 600,000 customers around the world, focused on feeding, fueling, and protecting the world. And they're well known for its innovative decision support solutions to empower customers in agriculture, energy, commodity, and financial analytics. So we have admired DTN for many years as a leader in data innovation and actionable insights. And we're just really thrilled to make Spensa an important part of DTN's future.
What will this mean, in your view, for Spensa? You've got about 40 employees now. Does this offer the opportunity to get into new areas in terms of maybe R&D for you and maybe grow employment, grow the company?
Yeah, so DTN is based in Minneapolis, and it's got office throughout the U.S. and globally. And I'm really pleased that West Lafayette office will be one of the offices for DTN. And I think it makes perfect sense strategically. We're right in the Purdue Research Park, where a lot of innovations and cutting edge and entrepreneurial activities are happening. Next to Purdue University, the premier ag and engineering school, which provides incredible pipeline of talents. So we're really excited that we'll be still operating at West Lafayette, and we'll be looking at bringing innovations in not only in agriculture, but their energy, transportation, and weather systems as well.
Only have 20 seconds left, Johnny, but what this deal means potentially for Indiana in the whole ag biosciences movement. You're in the Wabash Heartland Innovation, the network up there where IoT and ag biotech are focused. Does this play into that?
Yeah, no, I think I'm really excited that we just get to continue to be a part of this incredible success story. I think we have a real chance of turning this region into global epicenter of agriculture and IoT.
All right, Johnny Park, Spensa Technologies. Congratulations on the deal. We look forward to following your growth.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, here's what's on tap now in tech news, served up by Sun King, a robot designed to help children with cleft lip and palate with speech therapy. Has won the top prize at the Innovation Challenge at Indiana University. The robot, named Buddy, was designed by 2 IU grad students who earned $7,500 for taking first place. The winning concept from the recent startup weekend, Evansville 7.0, used drone technology to help save lives. Carrier Pigeon involves dispatching emergency medical supplies to ambulances transporting patients. And Purdue Polytechnic High School is relocating its 300-plus students and teachers to Circle Center Mall. Purdue's STEM-focused charter school opened in August at the Union 525 on the city's near south side as a temporary location until permanent space at the former PR Mallory Industrial Complex is complete. And for Tech News 24/7, be sure to check out InsideIndianaBusiness.com. Still ahead, the former Stutz Motor Company complex in Indianapolis dates back to 1911. And 25 years ago, Turner Woodard helped bring it back to life. He's here next with a look at the next 25 years and beyond. Here's what's making news now around Indiana, brought to you by your Indiana Pacers. Well, some big news at Purdue University this week. Pullman, Washington-based Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories will build a major power research facility in Purdue's Discovery Park District. In 2 phases, ultimately, it could mean 600 jobs. Meantime, the Purdue Research Foundation and Indianapolis-based Browning Investments have unveiled a 30-year master plan for the massive mixed-use district, which includes more than $1 billion in projects. Ohio-based United Collection Bureau is opening a new Indiana call center that could employ more than 600 workers over the next 4 years in Jeffersonville. The company says it will invest $2.4 million into improvements and equipment at a leased facility on the River Ridge Commerce Center campus. Well, in tiny Converse, Indiana, 6th-generation farmer Mark Boyer realized balancing a traditional row crop farm with being a father and husband as well as a firefighter was not really a sustainable schedule. So he looked for ways to diversify, and that's how he created Healthy Hoosier Oil, that they're cold-pressed and chemical-free. Mark is the owner of Boyer Farms, and he's helping 6th-generation farmer Nathan Hunt of the Hunt family farms with the process. And they're here now to talk about the process and the product and how it all got started. And gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
This is an interesting story on multiple levels. First of all, Mark, how did this really begin? How did you get into producing this oil?
Well, this was just simply an effort to add diversity to our crop rotation. We're traditional commodity crop farmers that were looking for diversity, and this, after a lot of research, this is kind of where we landed.
Yeah, well, let's talk about this oil, and as we were talking off camera, the uniqueness, you say, is really about the process. So talk about the process of making it.
The uniqueness really in the oil is the cold press process, and where the oil crop is run through what's called a cold press, the oil never gets above 120 degrees when it's being extracted. It's simply the oil is squeezed out of the crop, for lack of a better term, and then it's filtered down to 1 micron, and that is finished product. Yeah. The process is very, very simple, and it's chemical free versus the traditional solvent extracted method of making vegetable oil.
Very good. And Nathan, you benefit in your farm, right, from some of the byproduct, correct?
Yes, we buy the canola and sunflower meal, and we're able to utilize those to create our hog feed, where we grow our hogs on pasture.
Well, to talk about this process and what it's become, because it's really gaining popularity. You're in Target and Kroger stores around the state, some other venues as well. But talk a little bit about the growth.
For us, the Indiana Growing Program's really helped us. We were getting in some local restaurants, we're getting some growth, some attention from other places that we otherwise would not have gotten without the help of the program.
And I think that's an interesting piece to this, Mark, as you talk about Indiana Growing, a real focused effort to market Indiana products. And you're saying that's been really largely responsible for what you have going on.
It's been vital in our success. I would say probably 80%, or maybe even better than 80% of our retail business for our oils is a direct result of our involvement with the Indiana Grown program and the ISDA. And
we should mention that Converse is kind of creating its own brand as a farm-to-table restaurant, a locally grown type of environment.
There's a couple different restaurants there in Converse. One exclusively uses our oil as a fry oil, and of course that's all grown in the fields right there in the same area. Also, one of the other restaurants utilizes his exclusively his pork, which is fed by our byproduct. So nothing is wasted in the process, and it all is within probably 2 square miles of the little town of Converse.
All right, as we wrap up, Mark, where does this go from here? Your demand seems to be strong and getting strong.
Well, we'll continue to grow more crop on our farm, along with in rotation with our traditional commodity crops, and we'll strive forward to expand this in the future.
All right, it's a Healthy Hoosier Oil. Mark Boyer, also Nathan Hunt. It's a great Indiana success story, and we'll be following the story. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, coming up next, the rebirth of the historic Stutz Building in Indianapolis, celebrating an anniversary. 25 years since Turner Woodard transformed the former auto factory into the Stutz Business and Arts Center. And he's here with Stuart Alter to talk about some special plans. There they are in the Inside Indiana Business Social Media Lounge. Join me in studio next. Well, Stutz Building in downtown Indianapolis has been around for a long time, more than a century. It has been home to the legendary Stutz Motor Company, Eli Lilly and Company, but it sat vacant for nearly a decade. But in 1993, Turner Woodard bought the Stutz and has helped bring it back to life. And to celebrate the Stutz Renaissance, a special silver celebration is planned in the week ahead. And joining us now with more are Turner Woodard and event chair Stuart Alter. And gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Turner, wanted to start with you. For those who don't know about the history, the heritage of the Stutz complex, the building, massive building, harkens back to 1911 when Indianapolis was kind of little Detroit, right?
Right. It certainly was, Gary. And not a lot of people know that until they start really researching the automobile. But there were several well-known, Duesenberg, Marmon were all here. And so that was even more important to sort of delve into this project when I did.
Yeah, well, 25 years ago, you decided to buy it. So what really prompted you to buy it and to create what has become now with artists and startups and a real interesting vibe and excitement of vibrancy in the building?
Yeah, I get asked that many times. You and I have talked about it, and you know, you want to think that it was a wonderful vision, but it was really that history of Indianapolis and the automobile, and a bit of my love for history in the automobile. But Gary, most importantly, what a lot of your viewers would know is I wanted to save it. There had been a demolition permit pulled. And, you know, this just couldn't come down was the start of it.
Stuart, talk about a big celebration. The Stutz Artists Association, 25 years. That's remarkable for that kind of organization to be around that long.
It really is. A lot of, artist associations come and go, and it was the artists that first moved into the Stutz Building about 25 years ago, and they almost immediately decided to have an open house where they opened up all their studios to the public. And, there have been consistent open houses for 25 years. It's amazing.
Big event next week, April 26th to 28th. Talk about a little bit about what's going to go on.
Sure. So it is the silver anniversary, which is how I got involved. I've had a studio for 2 years, and when I found out it was going to be the silver anniversary, I kind of jumped on the opportunity. Yeah. So Thursday night, we are having, for the first time ever, a preview party and an acknowledgement and in honor of the 25th anniversary. So it's meant to be a little bit smaller of an event, so collectors can come in and have a conversation in the studios with the artists. Friday night and Saturday are going to be the typical annual, open house. Friday night from 5:30 to 10:30, and Saturday afternoon. And
Turner, as we wrap up, proceeds from this event go to benefit a special program, the residency program, right?
They do, Gary, and Stuart has been involved in that, and it really is quite unique around the country where we come together. The tenancy or the residency program is quite sought after, and the funds from this weekend where we open the factory up go to these deserving young artists, and that's quite special throughout the arts community.
All right, Turner Woodard, Stuart Alder, thanks much. Good luck with the event.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Thank you, Gary.
Stand by D1 Sound, sponsored open with music. Stand by camera 3 with Gary. We're out in 5, 4, 3, 2, resolve, cue Gary.
It's time now for the Business of Health, brought to you by Hendricks Regional Health. Well, IU Health is seeking approval from the City of Carmel to build a new cancer center. Barbara Lewis has more in the Business of Health. Barb?
Well, Gary, thank you very much. The $55 million cancer facility would be built on property that is already part of IU Health North. So joining me to talk about the details is the Executive Director of Cancer Services at IU Health, Katie McGill, and oncologist, Dr. Sarah Jo Grethlein. It's good to have you both here.
Thanks for having us.
So let's start with you in terms of why this is needed. We're familiar with the Simon Cancer Center downtown and some of the satellite facilities on the north side. Why a comprehensive cancer center?
So we're very excited to bring together all of the cancer services in one location for our patients. Right now we've got a great palette of services that we make available, but it's not as pulled together as we'd like it to be. We can offer chemotherapy, radiation therapy, surgical oncologists, and support for the patient and family all in one location, as well as access to clinical trials and the current research. It's a real win for us.
Yeah. And Katie, let's talk a little bit about the approval that's needed from the City of Carmel, and then also kind of the timeline for this project. What's the next step?
So we want to be respectful of the design considerations for the City of Carmel. So that's the initial part of the process, is the appreciation for the aesthetics of the outside of the building. So we anticipate having those appropriate approvals by the end of May of this year.
Okay, and then once you get the approvals, then when's construction and when would the facility open?
Yeah, so we anticipate a fall or September groundbreaking on the cancer center, and then we would see our first patient in about 2 years.
Okay. And then, so in terms of services, you've touched on some of the different services, and they would be just, would it be more that they would be concentrated there, or this would be really new for the north side?
So there's going to be new emphasis on the academic interest that we can bring forward, and that also translates to new services for patients. Our precision genomics program, for example, will be a strong presence at IU North. Pediatric oncology will be present at IU North. So even though we have many of those pieces, bringing them all together is part of what's different, as well as things like art therapy and music therapy and supporting the whole family.
Okay, when we looked at the renderings, we noticed that the cancer center will take over a parking lot, a pretty substantial parking lot, and parking is always something important to patients and their families. So what will happen then? Are you expanding the parking there as well?
Yes, so that will come first, so we don't disrupt the inner workings of parking and the flow of the hospital campus. So the groundbreaking for the new parking lot is in July, and we intend to replace the spots that we're taking and then some.
Okay, and then the services that were offered, the infusion center at 103rd and Springville, for example, will those continue to operate, or we see some shifting and closing?
Up until we open, they will continue to operate, but then our IU Health services that are at Spring Mill or currently at IU North will move into the new cancer center, as well as some expansion.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you both for being here. Appreciate your time, and we look forward to the new center opening and the approval process going smoothly.
Thanks so much.
All right, thank you. Gary, back to you.
All right, Barb, thank you. Well, there is a new president in charge at Indiana State University. Deborah Curtis is the school's 12th president, the first woman to lead the 152-year-old institution. She is here now to share her vision for a campus that has undergone lots of positive change in recent years, and she wants to continue that momentum. And President Curtis, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
As an ISU alum, you're familiar with the campus, but people who haven't been on campus for a while, it's changed a lot, and a lot in a positive way, a lot of physical changes and changes that had really gone on in the Terre Haute campus.
That's absolutely true. Several decades ago, since I was a student there, and my experience there as a graduate student was it was a somewhat urban campus, streets running through here and there, and it was wonderful at that time. But from President Landini's time on, the presidents have maintained a fidelity to the master plan of really turning this into a college campus environment, and we're doing that.
Your inauguration was a week ago, and on that day, it marked 100 days on the job. So the first 100 days, your impressions, any big takeaways?
Well, a couple of pieces. First of all, Indiana State's poised to launch for our next chapter. Dan Bradley, as president, did a wonderful job of bringing us to this point. And now it's really engaging with our friends on campus, our colleagues, but also the community, the city, the county, the Wabash Valley, and saying, what does the next level for Indiana State in this area look like? So that's truly a sense of opportunity.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit more about that? Because one of the themes or the theme of your inauguration was partnerships. So you obviously believe in that. How can those partnerships take shape?
Well, Indiana State University has always been engaged in partnerships. We haven't always lifted those up as much as we intend to now. The kind of work we do at our institution requires participation. It's a little bit of an overused phrase, but it does take a village to really prepare the workforce for the state of Indiana, and that's what we do, and that's what we've done for a long time. So we engage with community action groups, community leadership, city, council, businesses, manufacturing, and I'm going to say particularly the other higher ed institutions, and the K-12 system in the Wabash Valley as well.
Talk about enrollment and wanting to continue to enhance and advance enrollment. Positive steps certainly over the last number of years. What's the future student at ISU look like?
Well, all we have to do is take a look at the changing demographics for college-going students in this nation right now and know that's the demographic of the student that Indiana State has served for many years. We're a lot of first-generation college-goers, a lot of Pell-eligible students. If we had not been affording this opportunity for access and affordability for them, many of these students might not have had an option. That's the demographic going forward. So we are indeed going to be recruiting those students and providing them that entree. But along with that, we're going to be actively engaged in widening the funnel for students at Indiana State. The Commission for Higher Ed shares with us 750,000 Hoosiers have some college and no degree. We need to be of service to that population. A lot more who are non-traditional students who are looking maybe not for another degree, but some just-in-time education, some 12, 15-hour certificates that move them forward in their careers. I like to use the example of computer science. Maybe 10 years ago, you were in a degree in computer science and your employer says, we need you to pick up some expertise in cybersecurity. Do we have that available? 12, 15 hours, that allows that person to move forward.
Yeah. A final question for you. You touched on partnerships with other academic institutions in the Wabash Valley, and there are numerous, and the business community. Do you see Indiana State playing a leadership role in really engaging in economic development and the growth of West Central Indiana?
We truly will be. Indiana State needs the Wabash Valley to be a destination, not just for recruiting students, for our employees, for our staff, for our faculty, to recruit faculty is another piece that sometimes folks don't think about. But also when we do well, the Wabash Valley does well. So we really want to lock arms with our community leaders and civic leaders and lift up the Wabash Valley. There's a lot of good work with Riverscape and activities like that. We want to be a major partner in that.
Very good. Dr. Deborah Curtis, the new president at Indiana State University, on the job now for just over 100 days. Thanks for coming on the show. Welcome to Indiana. Welcome back to Terre Haute, and we hope to have you on again.
Thank you.
All right. Well, an update now on a major transformation going on at Circle Center in downtown Indianapolis. The mall announced this week it will add 6 new businesses by the end of the summer. Inside Indiana business reporter Mary Rachel Redmond has details.
On the heels of what officials are calling the most extensive improvement in Circle Center's 25-year history, Indy's downtown mall named its newest group of tenants that include an eclectic mix of retail, non-retail, and dining destinations.
We have 3 really neat dining concepts. Sushi, everyone loves fresh sushi. We have a really cool, unique new concept. It's like the hot new ice cream concept coming out. Edible art is really what it is. And then we also have Korean, Mexican fusion. They're really well known to downtown workers. They've had food trucks out for quite a while.
And perhaps the most unexpected of the 6 tenants announced so far is Purdue Polytechnic High School. 300 freshmen and sophomore students will attend school at this space you see behind me on the 4th floor of what was formerly Brown Mackie College. So why Circle Center?
Staying downtown was really important to us. The Simon Property Group folks were really, really good to work with. They had space. They were willing to do a 1-year lease prior to our going out to the PR Mallory building in 2019. When you have 14, 15, 16-year-old kids, being in the mall is attractive in the first place. We do a lot of work with businesses, and so being in the heart of downtown is really important. But then again, there's a food court downstairs. After school, kids can go. They can chill out. When the weather is bad, which it occasionally is in Indiana in the wintertime, parents can pick them up in the garages downstairs. The Indigo Transit Center is really, really close. Everything worked out perfectly for us.
Mary Rachel Redmond, Inside Indiana Business.
Still ahead, executives from KSM Location Advisors are here to talk about how tourism can and is being used as an economic development tool in Indiana. But first, Upper Hand Sports software is helping coaches and trainers spend more time on the field, court, or gym and less time behind a desk. Upper Hand's CEO is here to talk about how $1.5 million in funding will help fuel growth. That's next. Folsom recently announced additional funding for an Indianapolis-based software company focused on sports organizations. Could help the company and its clients get the upper hand. Bill Benner has more in this week's Inside Indiana Sports. Bill?
Gary, thanks. An upper hand is, pun intended, because the company is called Upper Hand, and the recent investment should spur further cutting-edge software development in areas from scheduling to coaching to marketing for sport organizations. And joining us today with more details is Upper Hand founder and CEO Kevin McCauley. And Kevin, welcome to the program. Exciting development for you guys, but let's start at the beginning. What is Upper Hand and where did this idea come from?
Yeah, Upper Hand, we're a sports lifecycle software company that happens to be in sports and fitness. And the idea comes from having coached baseball in Washington, D.C. I'm originally from Evansville, Indiana, so an Indiana native, which is important, of course. And it was in coaching Little League where had multiple experiences over the course of a number of seasons where parents would ask me, hey, would you work with my kid outside of practice? They'd love to get better at pitching, or hitting or whatever it might be. And so I started training outside of practice to make a little extra money and then to also help these kids develop. And I'll never forget the first lesson or session that I had afterwards. I was excited to talk to the parent about how the kid did. And they hand me a paper check with the kid right there. And as a Kelley School grad, sort of thought to myself, man, how is this the best way we do business in sports and fitness today? It hasn't changed in 10, 15 years since I played. So that was what spawned the idea to make life easier for parents and clients of sports and fitness organizations, which is now Upper Hand.
So one-stop software shopping for everything you could use. And talk about the range of services that you offer.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about life cycle, one of the things that's often forgotten in sports and fitness is the parent, who is really the consumer, right, for our customers, which is the business or the facility that runs camps, training programs, teams, et cetera. So we make it easy for our customers to market to their existing clientele, find new customers, do all the registration, scheduling, and then we make it easy for parents then to discover new events, new opportunities for their kids to develop and get better by having everything under one umbrella.
And your typical customer, and you are nationwide, but your typical customer, give an example of who that might be.
Absolutely. We sort of refer to anybody who runs what we call sports or fitness events, and those can be camps, lessons, training programs, team registrations. So a typical customer, Matt Dugan Sports Performance here in town would be an example, Power Alley Baseball. We have customers all across the country. So if you're running a sports event, you can use our platform to make your life a little easier.
A group called Park 10 Capital has just invested, you just announced this, $1.5 million into your company. That's great great news, and you intend to do what with this investment?
Well, for decades, sports and fitness has not seen a real investment in technology and innovation when it comes to running the operations behind an organization. And so we're taking that capital and investing it heavily into the product and technology side to start introducing, the types of things that parents would expect anywhere else they go to shop or do business in their daily lives. So we're very excited about taking that capital and investing it into the innovation of the software.
And so if people want to learn more about Upper Hand, how can they do so?
Well, just go to getupperhand.com. Online, of course, is going to be the best place to learn about what we do and what we've got going on.
Well, Kevin McCauley, this is exciting, and you're a great example of a local guy starting with a dream and bringing it to reality. Now employ about 20?
Yeah, we're just about 20, hoping to be 24, 25 by the end of the year.
All right. Kevin McCauley of Upper Hand, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Bill. Pleasure.
Best of luck. Gary, back to you.
All right, Bill, thank you. Well, an Indianapolis-based architecture and engineering firm says it has developed its headquarters around the collaborative needs of the industry. In this month's Culture Matters segment, first-person managing director Mark Minner profiles BSA Life Structures. We're talking about BSA Life Structures, a company with a very specific vision.
Yeah, it's been a great firm for Indianapolis, a great success story. Fun to watch them continue to iterate and grow throughout the years. And you're right, focused really on three main areas: healing, learning, discovery. So that's healthcare, education, and sciences. And those buildings are pretty complex and require a lot of expertise.
Let's talk about the space at BSA Life Structures. They moved into new space in the Keystone at the Crossing area, just north of 465, around 1997. Very open space.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's a beautiful, beautiful design. When you step off the elevator and you walk into their space, it kind of leaves you a little bit in awe. It's enormous. Open concept feel to it, so it allows for a collaboration when you're dealing with architects and engineers and designers, and you've got a lot of different folks that need to come together and collaborate. You need a space that's able to accommodate that, and that's what they were able to do. It has a very, very new age feel, and obviously being in the line of work that they're in, it's good to have a space that reflects that every day for the employees.
And you mentioned that collaborative environment when it comes to culture at BSA Life Structures. They have offices not only here in Indianapolis, but Atlanta, Austin, Denver, Kansas City, St. Louis, and Raleigh. So they've got a lot of offices, and they really don't consider Indianapolis to be that quote-unquote traditional corporate headquarters. Right?
Yeah, it's interesting. They kind of have this one firm mentality that each of those different locations, they're not just pigeonholed into a certain silo. They're really reflective of the organization as a whole. And as they look to acquire, and they've added these different locations and built these locations, they've done so with culture in mind. They want it to have the same ethos that it does in Indianapolis, so that wherever the employees are, they can feel the same part of the team.
The company's president is Melissa Davis, and I know on your recent visit to the office, you asked her about what really makes people want to work at BSA Life Structures.
I think people work at BSA because we design very complex buildings that affect lives. Healthcare, learning and discovery, science research has a direct impact on everyone's life around the world. And I think knowing that the research facilities that we're designing or helping develop cures it gives meaning, a totally different meaning to what we do than just designing nice spaces.
Mark, it's interesting. Melissa, I don't think is necessarily a traditional architectural firm leader, right? She's an interior designer by trade.
She'd probably be the first one to tell you that, right. and you get a sense there. Melissa has just an incredible energy, the interior designing background. She's been with the team for a while, and I think it's really cool that one of the things she talks about a lot, getting the right people in the right seats, and part of that is her own journey, right? One of the things she's really good at is the people side of things, and the organization, the leadership team knows how important that is for their team, so they know that if they can put her in the right seat to help drive better engagement throughout the organization, the team's just going to continue to be in a better and better spot.
150 employees company-wide, about 150 here in Indianapolis. BSA Life Structures, Mark Minner, as always, thanks for joining us. Great perspective. Coming up, leadership from KSM Location Advisors here to talk about how tourism is being used as an economic development tool around Indiana. There they are in our Inside Indiana Business Social Media Lounge, and they'll join me in studio next. Well, a study commissioned by the Indiana Office of Tourism Development and conducted by Rockport Analytics shows that tourism remains the fastest growing job sector in Indiana, the 9th largest industry in the Hoosier State. In 2016, more than 79 million visitors fueled spending of more than $12.2 billion, both records. Now, for some perspective on how tourism can and really is being used as an economic development tool, let's turn now to national site selection firm KSM Location Advisor CEO Tim Cook and President Katie Culp for our Eye on Economic Development report. And welcome back for this segment.
Hi, Gary.
On a topic that really is, I think, emerging and growing in a big way around the state, and that's tourism, and using it as an economic development tool. I just mentioned those numbers, which are staggering. So it's big business, but increasingly the state as a whole and communities and regions are really trying to leverage it for economic development.
And I think it really has two components to that. There is the direct impact, the financial impact of having an event or having an attraction that brings people in, spending money, sales tax revenue, all that stuff. And then there's the second impact, which is you're getting people into our state and communities, and they're getting exposure to areas that they might not otherwise go, because we've given them a reason to do so. And what we all hear over and over again is that once someone's visited Indianapolis or wherever, that they're like, oh, wow, this is a really cool city. So I think it's got kind of a double whammy impact.
Yeah, let's talk about some specifics, because I think it's interesting how you can match up the tourism piece with specific sectors of the economy. Obviously, coming up the month of May, sports tourism is big business in the state. The month of May is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, and as Katie touched on, you have the big events, and that's something that you can showcase. And then you're bringing people in from outside the state. It's a good opportunity for them to see the state. It's a good opportunity for the state and the local officials to show off what we've got here in central Indiana. And I think we always do a really good job every year of really exploiting that.
Yeah, and when you talk about kind of using these events as business attraction tools, the 500, for example, the amount of entertaining and hosting of businesses and others from out of town is a big piece of that.
Yeah, and again, as Katie mentioned, when people from outside of Indiana come and see Indianapolis live, it's a great experience for them, and to have the event of the 500 being something that can be showcased, I think just adds to that. Yeah, I mean, people probably aren't going to start hitting Indiana as a spring break location, but we've got
not yet anyway.
Well, who knows? I mean, but we do have some great state parks and things.
Right.
But but to have an event that draws people in, and then, like you said, with the business entertainment, maybe they aren't going to spend their vacation here, but the next time they're expanding one of their manufacturing facilities or office, call centers, what have you, they'll think of our community.
Yep. Another segment of the economy that is big business in Indiana is agriculture, and agritourism is really becoming a big thing. The best example, or certainly one of the best, is Fair Oaks Farms in northwest Indiana, which is such a mega attraction now, and they've really taken that educational type destination and turned it into a real tourism destination.
Yeah, and what's so smart about it? It's a great example of how Indiana has approached tourism the right way by being pragmatic. So it's playing on its natural strengths, and agribusiness is certainly something we're well known for. But that place is phenomenal. And I'm not just saying that because I like their grilled cheese sandwiches.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's been public and private partnership, and a huge success. Yeah, and they've continued to put a lot of money into it, and it's because there's a lot of attraction for that area, and it's a great experience for not just adults, but it's a good family experience as well. Yeah, you can't force it. It's like a evolution of market demand and meeting that demand.
That is a big example, and we had someone on the show earlier, and it's interesting to see these smaller communities engaging in this agritourism. Converse, Indiana is developing this reputation as a farm to fork type destination with multiple restaurants. Farms in the area are feeding that, and it's become a destination for that.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to this idea of playing to your strengths. And if you've got an amenity that you can develop locally that's going to be a tourism attraction, I think that's a really smart approach.
Craft distilleries, craft breweries, I should say, growing in a big way around the state. I think there were 30 or 40 a few years ago, well over 125 or 30 now. But as you look at the breweries, the wineries, and now distilleries, distilling in Indiana, that's become part of that piece.
Yeah, and you get two pieces to it. You have the people that visit them every day, but then in Indiana, if you look at like Sun King, and they have the Canvitational every year, up at Three Floyds, up in Munster, they have Dark Lord Day. Those are big attraction events where they're bringing people in, not just from the area, but from outside the state.
And those are really good economic development engines for those local economies for a 2 to 3 day period.
Yeah, and how about these craft breweries? Because it seems to me, from an economic development standpoint, that many communities and downtowns and redeveloped areas, they're trying to get these breweries to be part of the vibe in their particular community.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's an economic development tool, but it's also a community development success because it's helping revitalize some of these downtown areas that were starting to become a little, you know, obsolete. And, you know, isn't it interesting that some type of agribusiness related type of industry, I mean, it's so attractive to millennials. Who would have ever thought something kind of tied to a farm and that is going to be attractive to a younger workforce?
Well, when Katie and I meet with companies and they'll meet with, you know, cities, a lot of times cities will tout, we have a brewery now.
Yeah.
And it's part of the attraction that they try to put out in front of companies.
It makes sense because, you know, sometimes we see every county in the state like wanting to put in a tech incubator, for example. And, you know, sometimes I wonder if that makes a whole lot of sense because you may or may not have the natural inherent strength in that sector. But, I mean, everybody loves a good microbrew.
Absolutely, I agree with that. A great example. Radius, Indiana, in kind of south central Indiana, is really embracing tourism now and making that a strategy. So you're talking French Lick and the caves and caverns, lakes, the natural resources they have, saying, look, we've got these things, let's put money behind creating a destination, real strategy.
Yeah, and it's another good example of the private partnership opportunities. If you look at like French Lick and West Baden and what Bill and Gail Cook put into that from an investment standpoint and how they've really revitalized that area, that's been really exciting.
Yeah.
It certainly takes private sector investment and public, but what's cool about Radius, their involvement, is that you know, you get a professional and some experts to help direct where where you can get the most return on your dollars and your tourism investment. And with all respect to, you know, candle shops and that type of thing, sometimes without that type of professional leadership, you can get distracted. So I think it's great that they're so involved in kind of directing the ship.
Final word, does it seem like this is kind of in the early stages of growth? Do you see this picking up steam in terms of using tourism as an economic development tool?
Yeah, I think it's becoming a more robust use. I think it's a good use. I think it's important to, you know, keep it, you know, somewhat restrained. As Katie said, this is never going to be a spring break destination, but I think it can be used very effectively in the right way.
Yeah, we Hoosiers are pragmatic people, so I suspect that will continue.
Very good. Well, great take on tourism as an economic development tool. Tim Cook, Katie Culp, thanks very much from KSM Location Advisors, and I'll be right back after this. Coming up next week, the creation of a data science for all ecosystem is the goal of a new initiative at Purdue University. It will also boost research and partnerships to help grow the data-driven economy. Plus, Inside Indiana Business celebrating a big milestone. We look back at 20 years of telling the stories of Indiana business and what might be next. Those stories and much more coming up next week. Thanks for joining us this week. I'm Gary Dick. Go out and make it a successful week.
Inside Indiana Business with Gary Dick is a production of Grow Indiana Media Ventures with support from WFYI Productions.